Mother Nature finally cooperated, and we got a full day of on-track testing here ahead of the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500. I'm Nathan Brown, your motorsports insider with the Indianapolis Star, here to break down day 3 of Indy 500 practice here on Thursday ahead of Fast Friday. As you can tell behind me, it's getting a little bit windy. Temperatures are ramping up for what I expect to be a wild and crazy and potentially crash-filled Fast Friday. But before we get to that, finally got a chance to see lots of teams racking up big numbers of laps today ahead of that Fast Friday competition. At the top of the timing charts, Joseph Newgarden, who's been right up there towards the top, had yet to top a session. Fastest today at 226.632 miles an hour. Scott Dixon second at 225.457. Connor Daly with Juncos Hollinger Racing, third fastest at 224.893. Pato O'Ward, 224.467, and rounding out the top 5 today, Ryan Hunter-Reay, 223.983 miles an hour. The rest of your top 10 in order: Alex Palou, Colton Herta, Christian Rasmussen, David Malukas, and Scott McLaughlin. Our lone crash that we did see today was a very small one, but a crash nonetheless. Christian Rasmussen did have to go to the infield care center where he was seen and released after a remarkable spin coming out of turn 2, where he was hugging the wall, did a 360, only barely scraped the wall with one of his tires, and managed to land it. I'd give it a perfect 10. Continued running on, did eventually come to a stop, and the AMR safety team put his truck on a hook, towed it back to get a look at. Christian was fine. The car was largely fine, as you can tell. Rasmussen did finish 8th fastest on the charts today.
I mean, it's not great, but it could have been a lot worse. That's for sure. It's a very light touch of the wall. I didn't get hurt. The car was very minimally hurt. So it's about the best outcome you can with spinning with, I don't know, 215 mile an hour. It's a little sketchy for sure, especially right now. It's the hottest track temp that we've had. It's the hottest ambient we've had. And it's probably also the most wind that we've had. So it's all those things combined with me being pretty deep on tires there at the end, I think just kind of gave us that result, unfortunately. But again, it could have been a lot worse. We came out of it okay, and yeah, I haven't seen the car yet, but it looked pretty okay, so I hope that we'll make it out again today.
Before practice started today, we also got a chance to talk to Ryan Hunter-Reay, among several drivers. Ryan, of course, coming back here for his first IndyCar race since his Indy 500 with Ryan Reinbold Racing last year. Ryan now toward the end of his IndyCar career, just running 500s each of the last couple years, and he's with a team in Ryan Reinbold Racing that is only running the 500, and it has been only running the 500 for some time. Part that complicates that a little bit more and gives them a little bit taller mountain to climb is the addition of the hybrid system that IndyCar debuted back last July at Mid-Ohio. Most IndyCar teams have had now nearly entire season to run with the hybrid. Of course, this being the first 500 with it. We've seen teams test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway back in October. We also had our open test in April, and now 3 days of on-track running that Ryan Reinbold Racing and the rest of the teams have gotten a decent chance to size it up and how it impacts super speedway racing. Ryan Hunter-Reay and Ryan Reinbold Racing, of course, a little bit behind the curve, but showing that they can keep up and still hopefully put on some impressive results like their Fast 12 performance that they put on a year ago. Here is Ryan talking a little bit more about what it takes to catch up and maintain their hopes for a strong Indy 500.
It required a little bit of a rework on the setup due to the hybrid and kind of where that weight is placed in the car. So just trying to get our head around that, using the hybrid and how it's best to be used on track. So there's just a lot more info that we're getting through. But yeah, it's a little bit more difficult in traffic just because of the weight, right? Because of the added weight to the car. But same game really, just a little bit modified.
At the bottom of the timing charts today, again, some repeat folks that we've seen here for the last couple days. 28th fastest, Jack Harvey, Ryan Hunter-Reay's teammate at Ryan Reinbolt Racing. 29th, Takuma Sato. 30th, Felix Rosenquist. 31st and 32nd, the Prema Racing tandem of Callum Eilert and Robert Schwartzman. 33rd, Santino Ferrucci of AJ Foyt Racing, a little bit of a surprise there. And 34th, a name we have seen down here each of the last couple years, Graham Rahal. Those last two names in particular really stood out in their frustrating interviews that they gave to Fox Sports throughout today's practice. Graham started off practice week feeling really confident. This team has made lots of off-season changes. They have some new drivers in the fold. They have Takuma Sato back, who, no matter what the rest of the team has battled these last couple years, always finds his way towards the pointy end of the grid. I believe even last year he was in the Fast 12 despite Graham battling just to make the race. Of course, Graham was bumped from the race in his RLL entry back in 2023, though he filled in for an injured Stefan Wilson. We'll see how some of these cars at the bottom shake out. This boost, when it's added to the cars on Fast Friday, always changes up this balance. We'll see some guys who've been towards the bottom start to rise. We'll see some folks who maybe have been around in the middle of the pack start to drift their way back and surprise us a little bit in where they finish off Fast Friday. We're going to have some pretty extreme conditions once we get to Friday. We're facing a high in the mid 80s. I've seen 83 degrees when I last checked. We're going to have some regular 10 to 15 mile an hour winds with some gusts that could get even stronger. And as those winds pick up and swirl, particularly changing the directions that they go potentially from lap to lap or drivers run to run, drivers will have to try really hard to keep it off the wall while putting their cars on the limit to see exactly what they have in the fold as they prepare to make those first qualifying runs on Saturday. We'll have the qualifying draw on Friday, just a few minutes after practice, to set that initial order in which drivers will make their first runs Saturday late morning and early afternoon, and then after we get one time through the field, drivers will be free to make second, third, fourth attempts as they wish and either pull those times that they have already set or maintain them depending on which lane they go in. Some other interesting nuggets that we learned today. Scott Dixon is now going to be on his 5th engine as we hit Fast Friday action tomorrow. Important to note there that IndyCar teams, when they sign those engine leases with either Honda or Chevy, are only allotted 4 engines for an entire IndyCar season. So once you hit number 5, teams are given by the rules in IndyCar's rulebooks a 6-place grid penalty either on road or street courses and a 9-place grid penalty when we hit an oval. Importantly, IndyCar does not enforce those grid penalties for the Indy 500. So even though Scott has already incurred that unapproved engine change, as it is termed in the rulebook, that will get bumped to the Detroit Grand Prix that will run on June 1st. It's very likely that will not be Scott's last engine penalty that he will face this year. He had his first engine failure just a lap or two into preseason testing at Sebring, went on to his second at St. Pete, moved on to his third ahead of Indy 500 practice this week, and then as Chip Ganassi Racing was looking over his data last night, didn't like what they saw, and they were faced with a decision. They could have either not run at all today in practice and then gone with the rest of the Honda teams who will be moving to their qualifying and 500 race engines tonight ahead of 500 Fast Friday. For most teams, that will be their third engine of the year, though they will not have mileaged out that second engine yet, so they'll be able to go back to that at some point in the year to try to stay on track to just use 4 throughout the 17 race season. But for Scott, he and his team decided that they would go to their 4th to run practice today. They ran 92 laps, so that's nearly 250 miles on that 4th engine. And then tonight they will go to their 5th that they will run for the remainder of Indy 500 action. That's Fast Friday qualifying, the couple practices that we will have next week, and then of course the 500 miles that they hope to run on Indy 500 race day. So Scott, who's only averaged 15th best in terms of his average starting position on the grid so far this year, could face a tough go in terms of trying to claw his way back from his Chip Ganassi Racing teammate Alex Palou, who holds nearly a 100-point lead on second place in the championship so far through 5 races. Scott sits sixth, well over 100 points back. He does not yet have a win this season. His best finish is second at St. Pete. So we'll see how this affects him down the road, but I talked to Taylor Kyle, team manager at Chip Ganassi Racing, about that decision to go ahead and change that engine overnight and hurt maybe their chances a little bit in their championship contention while prioritizing the 500. He said, at this moment in time, this Indy 500 is all that matters. It's the most important thing, and they really want to go win this race. For Scott, be importantly his second 500 win in his career and his first since that magical win in 2008. That's all we've got today from the third day of Indy 500 practice at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Again, Fast Friday action ramps up tomorrow at noon. They'll run until 6 p.m., weather permitting, of course. We'll see lots of cars running, just one car on track, whether it be one-lap runs. Some teams will go out there with the ambition of running 4-lap qualifying simulations. Sometimes you'll see them only run 2 or 3 laps if they notice something that they don't like. Maybe another car pops out on track and gives them a little bit of a tow that interferes with the data that they're trying to pull off that run. Maybe they get a bobble with some wind gusts that I'm experiencing even right now and want to pull it back in to be safe. We'll have to see how that goes. I know a couple years ago, wind gusts got so high and along with the temperatures that we hardly saw cars run at all tomorrow. I don't know if we'll get quite that extreme, but we'll have to be sure. Will be interesting, and honestly, with these conditions and this added weight of the hybrid in the back of the car and the understeer that has caused a couple drivers, including drivers like Kyle Larson and Takuma Sato, who got caught out in Indy 500 testing back in April and crashed in turn 1. Would not be surprised if we saw a crash or two tomorrow. That's it for today's edition of Pit Pass Live. I'm your motorsports insider for the Indianapolis Star, Nathan Brown. Thanks for watching, and please tune in to tomorrow for breaking down everything we learn and see on Fast Friday.